All right, welcome to week 2 of Tater Time. So last week, AJ picked his local high school games. He went 3-1. All right, so this week, AJ, we got Prattville at Enterprise. What are you thinking there?
Well, I got Prattville going off with their win against Stanhope. I got them going to Enterprise and coming out with a win.
All right, Wetumpka versus Chelsea.
I got Wetumpka continuing to roll and beating Chelsea.
Okay, and last game of the week, Stanhope versus Park Crossing.
I hate to do it, but I got to go with Park Crossing. Stanhope just struggling, and I just don't trust them right now.
Man, picking against the alma mater, that must be tough. All right, so this week we're going to recap the last games for Alabama and Auburn. So we had Auburn 41-7 on Georgia Southern. AJ, what was your takeaway there?
Well, I think took away the offense looked good, but also looked a little shaky at some point. It just showed that Jared Stidham was a little rusty from not playing so long. Their defense looked good too, and I'll let Kyle elaborate.
Yeah, we got Kyle Reed joining us this week. Kyle, what was your takeaway, Auburn, Georgia Southern?
I think the biggest takeaway was the defense. Georgia Southern's known for their high-powered triple option offense, and Auburn did a good job holding them to 78 yards. And it's not really something we're used to seeing from Auburn from the last few years. Was a good defense, and you give that and a good offense, and you're going to have a good team.
All right, last week's opening game, Alabama versus Florida State. Brutal 24-7 win for Alabama. What was your takeaway, Kyle?
Obviously, the offense puttered and sputtered a little bit, something that we're kind of used to, but we still have a stable of running backs to rely on. Hurts has got to get better at reads and making the right throw and trying to, throw to different guys a little bit. Obviously, the defense was great. Even losing the guys we did to the NFL, we still proved that, we're a Nick Saban coached defense. So.
All right, AJ, what was your takeaway from Alabama, Florida State?
Well, I echo what Kyle's saying. I do, however, think the reason our offense struggled, I do believe Florida State has a good defense, and they have a playmaker in Derwin James, who we heard nothing but good things about all season, and for good reason. The kid can play, and he gave Alabama a headache the whole night trying to figure out where he was on the field. I do feel the special team stepped up big, though, with the blocked field goal for halftime by Minka Fitzpatrick, the block punt by Damon Harris.
2 interceptions.
Yeah, I mean,
awful.
that was really good. And, I mean, kicking, a little concern. Give the kid some credit, though. He made 3 out of 5. So, hopefully he gets better. That's what I took away from the game.
All right, week 2, we have the premiere of Taters Haters, a section where we address some of the haters from online. AJ, Blake Mullen calling you out for not picking his Cowboys. What you got?
Well, I don't know. It's kind of hard to pick against the Cowboys when they have a 9th-year starting quarterback in Mason Rudolph. That being said, they will go to South Alabama this Friday night, and I'm pretty sure Blake will be at this game, so he'll get to see it in person. The Cowpokes will roll in Mobile.
Nice. Okay, so now we're going to pick the games for the week. We'll start off with the game day game, which is Oklahoma versus Ohio State. A lot of hype on this one, guys. Kyle, who you got?
I'm going to go with Urban Meyer's coaching experience in this one over anything. I know Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray looked phenomenal last week, and Lincoln looked good in his debut as head coach as well. But I'm still going to stick with Urban Meyer and the senior quarterback in J.T. Barrett. I know he hasn't been playing the greatest as of late, going back to last year, but I think Ohio State's going to pull this one out.
All right, AJ, who you got in this one?
I actually have to disagree with you on this one, Kyle. Sorry. I got the Oklahoma Sooners going into Columbus and knocking off the Buckeyes in a close one. In a close one, but I just feel like Thursday night in Indiana, the Hoosiers expose Ohio State's weakness in the secondary, and if they play a half of football like that against the Sooners, they will not come out with a win.
All right, next game we'll go to AJ's home away from home, Penn State versus Pitt. Who you got, AJ?
Well, I got to go with Penn State. I feel like this is a redemption game from last year. This was one of their early losses that cost them probably getting in the playoff.
Yeah.
Even though Pitt also beat Clemson last year. I feel like Penn State will make a statement. Pitt struggled with Youngstown State, had to go to overtime last week. I think Penn State wins by at least 3 touchdowns.
Right. Kyle, who you got? Penn State versus Pitt.
I'm going to go with Pitt to cover. Penn State will win the game, but I think Pitt's that pestering team that knows how to pick apart teams like this and show up in big games. So I'm going to go with Pitt to cover.
Okay, sounds good. Next game, the one that I am probably the most excited about this week, Stanford at USC. Who you got, Kyle?
Oh, yeah, this is going to be a good one, I think. I'm going to go with Stanford on this one. I just really like what they're doing there as far as their recruiting and how efficient they are. I know they played Rice, and a lot of people don't give that a lot of credence, but they were firing on all cylinders in that game, and they made Rice look like a JV high school team. I mean, it was total domination. I think Stanford is going to win this game close. USC didn't look the strongest against Western Michigan. Struggled a little bit. We know they're a good team, but at the same time, they were tied up in the fourth quarter in that game. Not what you want to see out of USC going forward.
AJ, who you got? Stanford versus USC.
Well, considering I wasn't a really big believer in USC coming into this season with all the hype, and they looked like they were hung over from all the hype that they were getting about Sam Darnold winning the Heisman already. I like Stanford, and I think this could be a 10, 14-point game if USC is not careful.
All right, we got Georgia going on the road to Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish. Who you got, AJ?
I got to go with the Bulldogs, and I know they're without Jacob Eason, and I also know Notre Dame looked good last week, but come on, it was Temple. I think the Bulldogs will run the ball with Chubb and Michelle, and they will come out with a win.
All right, Kyle, who you got?
I think this is going to be one of those grinded out kind of games that I think the game plan for Georgia is going to be to run, run, run. I think you're going to see 45 carries. They've got 2 guys that are just great running backs in Michelle and can't think of the other guy's name, but I think it's probably going to be closer than what people are saying. I think this is a linchpin game for Brian Kelly's future as Notre Dame's head coach. So I think he's going to be coaching for his job. He might see Georgia on the ropes a little bit without their starting QB, and I think he might pull out all the tricks. But I'm still going with Georgia.
All right. So we got an Alabama, a 43.5-point favorite versus Fresno State. What you thinking, Kyle? I think we all agree Alabama's going to win, but do they cover?
I don't think they cover. I tend to believe that this is going to be a let's put this guy here and see what he can do here with all the injuries that Alabama suffered against Florida State. I think you might also see the backup Tua that everybody's been hyping. So I think that Alabama will win. Obviously, I shouldn't say that, but I just don't think they cover.
All right, AJ, what you got?
Yeah, I think Alabama will win this game, but they need to be careful because last week we didn't do too good on third down, so we got to improve on third down. And Fresno State does have a coach in Tedford that used to coach Cal, so they got to have a good coach. And they didn't play anybody last week, but they won 66-0.
All right.
And you put 66 points up, that's a big deal. I don't think it's going to be a big concern, but Bama better be on their toes, and they better not take them for granted. I hope you see Tua. You should be able to. I don't see Bama covering the spread, though.
Okay, so last game that we're going to pick this week, Auburn is going to Death Valley to play number 3 Clemson. So this is going to be a big game for us. Who do you got, Kyle?
In this one, I'm going to go with the Auburn Tigers. And it's going to be a challenge, obviously, but I was really impressed with that defense last week. And, you're talking about a guy in Clemson's quarterback that this is only his second start. I think that, it's going to be a tough game. But with Auburn's running backs, they've got 3 guys that are capable of running the ball. And, Stidham has to play better. I think he probably will. And I think Auburn's going to come away with a very close game. Don't be surprised if we're looking at a couple overtimes.
All right, AJ, what you got? Auburn in Death Valley versus Clemson.
I'm sorry, I just don't have as much optimism as Kyle does. I know the defense looked great.
Hold the
last
tater
week.
tots.
I know defense looked great last week, but it's still Death Valley, and Dabo Swinney has these boys, believing that they belong here. And I feel like Kelly Bryant will play big, and I feel like they have other playmakers to help them out. They'll have the home field advantage, so that'll help them. If it was at Auburn, I'd be really worried for the kid. But I don't see Auburn going into Clemson and winning. I don't.
All right, so we got one for Auburn, one for Clemson. All right, guys, make sure to join us next week for the Tater Talks. And also, make sure to tell us what you think in the comments. We want to hear what you got to say. Maybe you'll make it on Tater Taters.